There are hopes citizens across the Pacific will soon have better access to official documents. Transparency International says many Pacific countries don't have robust avenues to hold people in power accountable. On World Right to Information Day, Lydia Law spoke with two staunch Pacific advocates for citizens' universal rights to access public information.
In Aotearoa, New Zealand, the Official Information Act allows people to request government documentation. They can be used for fact-checking, investigative journalism, and most importantly, to hold people in power to account. Amnesty Papua New Guinea spokesperson Yuambare Highway says significant steps have been taken to establish a framework like this in PNG. He explains why this day is so important.
It's a day for advocacy and promotion of the universal right to access, store, disseminate information. It's a key component of freedom of expression, and it's really essential for any democratic and open society to function, but it's also useful for commerce and trade, for anti-corruption, good governance, and a whole heap of issues that are close to the heart of people across the world. And so it's a focal point for advocacy really on ensuring that countries are able to inform citizens and citizens are able to access public information paid with the public purse.
And here in Aotearoa, we have the right as journalists and as citizens to request information under the Official Information Act, or anything of the government, whether that be phone call, logs, text logs, documents as well. Can you please tell me about how that differs across the Pacific region and what that looks like in Port Moresby in Papua New Guinea?
Sure. I think New Zealand is one of the leading countries within our region in terms of an access to information regime. And I think they also had to undergo a series of reviews to see how that could be properly done effectively for the people. In the region, we have a number of countries like Australia and Vanuatu that have access to information either through a commission or through the Prime Minister's office, as is the case in Vanuatu.
So what are they doing about this in PNG?
Transparency International PNG is co-leading a cluster of commitments within the Open Government Partnership with the Government Department of ICT. So they're the lead on access to information in the country. And we recently had a roundtable dialogue co-convened by the United Nations in Port Moresby with these actors to look at what the next steps for access to information in Papua New Guinea would be. There were two key commitments that came out of that discussion. One was to look at having a consultation workshop in October with the hope of finalizing a policy on freedom of information in Papua New Guinea by the end of this year. And that would then enable work on legislation, particularly in terms of consulting and drafting, starting in the beginning of 2024. And so we welcome these kind of commitments by governments, and we welcome their coordination of both the government priorities and civil society priorities as we work on these key programs such as access to information.
How significant is this?
It's been significant because of the lack of progress following Papua New Guinea's election. So we had elections in 2022 and we haven't heard any further process or engagement on the right to information. And so we used the International Day for Universal Access to Information as an advocacy point to bring those stakeholders together and to get a time frame so that the citizens of Papua New Guinea can at least have something to track whether meaningful progress is being made in this important area. It was crucial for us because in the absence of these kind of international days, it's difficult to bring focus on these issues domestically.
Meanwhile, in Vanuatu, a Freedom of Information law came into force in 2017. But the Executive Director of Transparency Vanuatu, Dr. Willie Tokon, told me squabbling politicians are hampering progress.
We still have an issue. Firstly, it was the awareness and the advocacy on the RTI Act. But also, most importantly, was the absence of the Right to Information Commissioner, the officer responsible for implementing the RTI Act. In line with that, we've been working for the last 3 years, we've been working with the RTI office. And especially in the last 12 months, we've done a lot of meetings with stakeholders And finally, earlier this year, we met with the Minister of Justice, who is responsible for the recruitment of the RTI Commissioner. We were very lucky to have some funding from SPC. There's a program called PPAC, Pacific People Advancing Change. And so this enabled us to do a lot of printing material for advocacy and awareness on RTI, and also have meetings with stakeholders responsible for the running of the our support of the RTI. And finally we came to the stage where we met with the Minister of Justice, who is responsible for the appointment of the recruitment of the RTI Commissioner. We had a lunch and learn with him. We pointed out that this position is important, and there's a funding that is available for the appointment.
There have been a few changes in government, so have you met in recent weeks? Which government and which minister?
It was the Kalsakau government.
Okay, so now that the Kalsakau government has been, what does that mean for this?
So right now we're still in a crisis in the sense that even though we have Sado Kilman in government now, and his group are in government, there's been they don't have the numbers to run the government. So the opposition has lost a motion of no confidence. It will be discussed. I think it's just the next week. So that is our problem right now. We are, as soon as we have stability or we can breathe freely, we will remind the minister responsible and his DG that we need to recruit this. Because if we didn't have this political crisis, August last month, we should have done the advertisement and get all the applications in. And we were looking forward to end of August and beginning of September to have this appointment done. But this political crisis has really held everything back.